Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Before we get into tonight's game, I wanted to ask a question. Do you have extra cards lying around that you don't use? Want to buy or trade for some extra cards but don't know how to maximize the value? Then you should try out today's sponsor, Card Conduit. Card Conduit is the best service when it comes to selling your extra cards. Don't waste hours trying to find the best buy list price for your cards online. Simply send them to Card Conduit and let them take care of the rest. I have used Card Conduit multiple times already. I always use them to get the best value for my extra cards. I get fair prices for my cards and they save me tons of time. They have three main services. Their standard service lets you send them your unsorted cards of any value. They will sort, grade, and give you the best price for your cards. Their curated service is similar. Send them your unsorted cards worth over $1 in value. They will charge half the fee of the standard service and charge no fee per card. Their sorted service is a great value as well. Choose cards in advance with their selection tool, send them sorted to Card Conduit, and they will grade and buy list them automatically. Save yourself the time of having to send to multiple sites and let Card Conduit do it instead. Their fee is only 2% with no fee per card. They give you the best price for your cards. They work with competitive buy listing partners, including ones not open to the public. Users get an average of 19% more for their collection than they would from any major retail buy list, even with Card Conduit's fees. Card Conduit also optimizes buy listing for card condition as well. Since vendors have different penalties for wear and tear, Card Conduit will find the best buy list priced against the specific condition of the card. So give Card Conduit a try today. If you sign up with my link in the description below or use the promo code POWER, you will also get 10% off of their fees when you use their service. A big thanks to Card Conduit for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Shauna piloting Niv-Mizzet Perun. This deck seeks to turbo out its commander, control the board, and win through curiosity effects. Shauna's opening hand contains a Steam Vents, Pact of Negation, Slip Out the Back, Mystic Remora, Pentad Prism, Trinket Mage, and a Misdirection. Next, we have Zach piloting Elsha of the Infinite. This deck seeks to win through its commander and Sensei's Divining Top or Underworld Breach lines. Zach's opening hand contains a Lion's Eye Diamond, Soul Ring, Fiery Islet, Mindbreak Trap, Fierce Guardianship, Pyroblast, and a Muddle the Mixture. After that, we have Claby piloting the partner pair of Tymna the Weaver and Kodama of the East Tree. This is a stacks deck that seeks to lock down the board and eventually win through combat. Claby's opening hand contains a Fabro Elder, Collector Oof, Soul Ring, Mox Diamond, Carpet of Flowers, Arid Mesa, and a Godless Shrine. Finally, we have Ryan piloting Magda Brazen Outlaw. This deck seeks to use Magda's ability to generate infinite mana through Clock of Omens and fetch up artifacts to win the game. Ryan's opening hand contains a Soul Guide Lantern, Urza's Saga, Mountain, Cursed Mirror, Lightning Bolt, Enslaved Dwarf, and his Luna Mulligan is a Trinosphere. Without further ado, let's kick off this minty miniature mine. Shauna won the Pass the Ball challenge and gets to start us off. Shauna draws a card for turn and plays a Scalding Tarn. She cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Volcanic Island onto the battlefield. She casts a turn 1 Mystic Remora. Shauna passes. Zach draws a card for turn and plays a Fiery Islet. He taps it to cast a Soul Ring. Remora triggers and Shauna draws. Zach passes. Claby draws and plays an Arid Mesa. They crack it, pay a life, and fetches up a Savannah onto the battlefield. They cast a Soul Ring and Shauna draws from Remora. They cast a Mox Diamond and Shauna draws again. It enters and Claby discards a Godless Shrine. They cast a Llanowar Elves and end their turn. Ryan draws and plays a Mountain. He casts an Enslaved Dwarf. Ryan chips the turn to Shauna. During her upkeep, Shauna lets her Remora die. She draws and plays a Steam Vents into play untapped, paying 2 life. She casts a Sensei's Divining Top. She pays 2 life to cast Gitaxian Probe, targeting Zach. She looks at Zach's hand and draws a card. She passes, discarding to hand size. Zach draws and casts Sensei's Divining Top. He activates top, looking at and rearranging the top 3. He activates top, drawing a card and putting top on top. He plays a Polluted Delta for turn. He casts a Lion's Eye Diamond. Zach ships the turn to Claby. Claby draws and plays a Homeward Path. They cast their commander, Tymna the Weaver. They move to combat and attack Shauna with Llanowar Elves. In response, Shauna casts Rapid Hybridization, targeting Tymna. Tymna is destroyed and Claby creates a 3/3 Frizzard. Then Shauna takes it and Claby passes the turn. Ryan draws and plays an Urza's Saga, getting its first counter. He casts his commander, Magda Brazen Outlaw. He moves to combat and attacks Shauna with Enslaved Dwarf. Magda triggers and Ryan creates a treasure. Then Shauna takes it and Ryan gives the turn over to Shauna. During her upkeep, Shauna spins her top, rearranging the top 3. She draws and plays an island. She casts Pentad Prism, entering with 2 counters. Shauna passes. Zach draws and cracks his Polluted Delta, pays a life, and fetches up a Tundra onto the battlefield. Zach ends his turn. Claby draws and recasts their commander, Tymna the Weaver. They move to combat and attack Zach with Llanowar Elves and Shauna with their Frizzard. They both take it, and in their second main phase, they lose 2 life and draw 2 cards through Tymna. They play a snow-covered forest for turn. They cast Carpet of Flowers. Claby passes to Ryan. Ryan draws, and in his first main phase, Urza Saga gets another counter. He plays a Great Furnace for turn. He moves to combat and attacks Shauna with Magda and Enslaved Dwarf. Magda triggers, and Ryan creates 2 treasures. Shauna takes it, and Ryan passes the turn. Shauna draws and casts Trinket Mage. It enters, and Shauna fetches up a Jeweled Lotus into her hand. She casts Jeweled Lotus. She passes. Zach draws and plays a City of Brass. He taps it and his Fiery Islet to help cast its commander, Elsha of the Infinite. Zach looks at the top card of his library. With nothing else, Zach ends his turn. Claby draws and moves to combat. They attack Ryan with Tymna and Llanowar Elves and attack Shauna with their Frizzard. In response, Ryan activates Urza Saga, creating a construct. Unfortunately, Claby didn't see that coming as Ryan moves to blocks. Ryan blocks Tymna with the construct and Shauna blocks the Frizzard with Trinket Mage. Then Ryan takes the rest and Claby gains 2 life. In their second main phase, Claby adds 3 green through their carpet. They play an Exotic Orchard as their land for turn. They cast their other commander, Kodama of the East Tree. They cast Feyburrow Elder. In response, Shauna casts Snap, targeting Kodama. Kodama bounces and Shauna untaps 2 lands. Then Feyburrow Elder resolves. Turn thwarted, Claby passes to Ryan. Ryan draws, and in his first main phase, Urza Saga triggers. In response, Shauna casts Slip Out the Back, targeting Magda. Magda gets a +1/+1 counter and then phases out. Then Ryan floats mana and sacrifices Urza Saga, fetching up an Ashnod's Transmigrant onto the battlefield. He casts a Soul Guide Lantern. It enters and exiles Zach's Polluted Delta from his graveyard. He casts a Dwarven Armorer. He casts Gamble. He fetches up a card into his hand and then randomly discards a Lightning Bolt. He moves to combat and attacks Shauna with his construct. Shauna takes 7 and Ryan passes the turn. At the end of Ryan's turn, Shauna spends the top. Shauna draws and activates top, drawing a card and putting top on top. She casts a Mox Opal. She plays a Cephalid Coliseum for turn. She cracks her Jeweled Lotus to help cast her commander, Niv-Mizzet Perun. It enters, and then Shauna ends her turn. Zach draws and starts off his turn by casting Jeska's Will, choosing both modes, targeting Claby. Elsha's Prowess and Niv-Mizzet trigger. Shauna draws, Niv triggers again, targeting Ryan's Enslaved Dwarf. In response, Ryan casts Red Elemental Blast, targeting Niv-Mizzet. Niv triggers, Shauna draws, then Niv triggers again, dealing a damage to Dwarven Armor. In response to Red Blast, Shauna casts Fierce Guardianship for its alternate cost, targeting Red Blast. Niv triggers, and in response, Zach casts a Fierce Guardianship of his own for its alternate cost, targeting Shauna's Fierce. Elsha and Niv trigger. Shauna draws, Niv triggers again, dealing 1 damage to Dwarven Armor, killing it. Then Elsha gets +1/+1. In response, Shauna activates Cephalid Coliseum, cracking it, drawing 3 and discarding 3. Niv triggers 3 times, dealing 3 to Elsha. With Fierce still on the stack, Shauna casts Misdirection for its alternate cost, exiling a blue card, targeting Zach's Fierce. Niv-Mizzet triggers, and in response, Zach taps his City of Brass to help cast Pyroblast, targeting Misdirection. Elsha's Prowess and Niv triggers. Shauna draws, Niv triggers again, and then Shauna deals 1 damage to Elsha, killing her. With nothing else, Elsha's trigger fizzles, Pyroblast counters Misdirection, Shauna draws from Niv-Mizzet, Niv triggers, she deals the damage to Claby's Llanowar Elves, Elves dies, then Fierce counters Fierce, Shauna draws from Niv, Niv triggers again and deals the damage to Feyburrow Elder, then Red Blast destroys Niv-Mizzet, Niv pings Enslaved Dwarf, Dwarf dies, and Elsha's other prowess ability fizzles. Finally, with no other answers and the board all but wiped out, Jeska's Will finally resolves. Zach adds 4 red and then exiles Transmute Artifact, Felwar Stone, and Final Fortune. This seems like very unassuming flips, but they are actually fantastic in Elsha. Zach plays an Urza Saga, getting its first counter. He casts Sensei's Divining Top. He casts Felwar Stone from exile. He casts Transmute Artifact from exile. In response, Ryan sacrifices his Soul Guide Lantern, drawing a card, hoping to find an answer. He does not find it, and in response, Shauna casts Force of Will, paying a life, exiling a blue card, targeting Transmute. In response, Zach casts Mindbreak Trap for its alternate cost, exiling Force of Will. With no other answers, Transmute Artifact resolves, Zach sacrifices Felwar Stone, and then fetches up a Helm of Awakening onto the battlefield. Zach casts Final Fortune from exile, getting an extra turn. Zach passes to his next turn. Zach draws, and in his first main phase, Urza Saga gets another counter. He taps his City of Brass and his Fiery Islet to help recast its commander, Elsha. Zach then presents a loop of activating top, drawing a card and putting top on top, then casting it for free through Elsha and Helm of Awakening. He then draws 40 cards. He casts Mana Crypt. He plays a Plateau for turn. He casts Rite of Flame, adding 2 red. He casts Dockside Extortionist. It enters, and Zach creates 9 treasures. He casts Gamble. He fetches up a card into his hand and then randomly discards Mental Misstep. He casts Underworld Breach. He casts Brain Freeze, milling Claby's library. He cracks his Lion's Eye Diamond, discards his hand, adding 3 blue. He escapes Brain Freeze 2 more times, milling out Ryan and Shauna. He then escapes Wheel of Fortune. Each opponent discards their hands and attempts to draw from an empty library, lose, and Zach wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what a cool game. Congrats to Zach on his win. The war fought on the last turn proved to be an exciting but complicated one. Triggers were flying all over the place, but everyone kept their triggers in check and navigated through the complicated stack war. It was a blast to play, and we hope you enjoyed watching it tonight. A big thanks to Shauna and Claby for joining us in tonight's game. Check out the description for links to their social media. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, be sure to subscribe. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time when we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.